Good morning, everyone, and I'm sorry about the slight delay we've had to the beginning of the session. I'd like to say a huge thank you to everyone that's been able to join this second ever University of Dundee online undergraduate open day. I'm joined by my colleagues from the Art and Design, the School of Art and Design, or DJ CAD. We're going to give an overview of the General Foundation this morning. Please note that there is a 10 to 15 second delay from when we speak until you actually hear us on your end. During the session, there's opportunity to ask questions in the live Q&A box. We will answer your questions as we go, and we will also take live questions at the end of the presentation as well. So I will hand over to Helen McCoy, who is going to start off with our presentation. Thank you.
Hello there. Good morning, everyone. Thank you very much for joining us at this session. So this morning, this presentation will be in 3 parts. Initially, it'll just be a short general introduction to Duncan of Georgeson College of Art and Design, and then I'll go on to talk a bit more about the Art and Design General Foundation course. And finally, I'll talk a bit about the portfolio that will form part of your application to Art and Design General Foundation. I'm also joined this morning by Jennifer Thompson, who has just completed her first year of studies with us in Dundee. Okay, so this slide here is really about the creative industries, and it's true to say that the creative and cultural economies are a major economic driver in the UK and beyond. These industries are one of the UK's major success stories, growing at 5 times the rate of the wider UK economy prior to the pandemic. The challenges faced post-COVID mean that the creative sector, including the art and design specialisms and their potential career opportunities offered at DJ CAD, are key to the invigoration of the UK's profile. Our reputation. Well, Duncan of Georgeson enjoys a strong and growing reputation within the sector. And you can see the many sort of accolades that are listed there. They're only some of our achievements. What we're particularly proud of, however, is becoming the University of the Year for student experience. So that's really key to our success and to the success of Dundee University too. So our students enjoy a great level of support within the university support services, and also an extremely kind of lively and sociable campus experience too. A really important aspect of Duncan of Georgeson are our workshops and facilities. So there's some images of the workshops illustrated here. So we've had ceramic studio, we actually have our own foundry as well. We've got an extensive printmaking facility in the college, and at the kind of cutting edge of technology, we have what we call the Make Lab. And that's a space where students can, work with 3D printing, with electronics, with laser cutting, to name but a few. In addition to these workshops, we also have a jewellery and metal workshop, an extensive printed textiles studio, a sculpture studio, a woodwork, metal and plastic fabrication facilities as well, a knit workshop, multiple things that students from right across the college, regardless of their individual specialism, have access to. So that's a really kind of key part of what we offer. This is relevant to the final part of the presentation I'm going to give this morning, and this is our online portfolio exhibition. So you can find the link at the bottom right there. So that's great to have a look at. And what that will illustrate to you is the work of successful applicants, successful recent applicants to the courses. And finally, I'd like to extend a welcome to you for our DGCAD specific virtual open days, which are happening in late October in the days listed there. And there's an opportunity for you to book your place at those open days as well. Okay, what I'm going to do now is move on to talking specifically about the Art and Design General Foundation course. So we offer a one-year course that is year one of a four-year degree, and that's quite important to stress. So DGCAD offers the only general first year of the 4 Scottish art schools. You can see, importantly, the UCAS code listed below for our course. And what that means in being a general first year is that students enter the course on what you would say is a kind of open ticket, in that we don't ask them at point of entry which eventual specialism they're going to move towards, and students use the course, their first year course, to help kind of determine which specialism within DGCAD Art and Design is the right one for them. So it's an integrated first year, so we are part of that four-year degree. So the majority of students enter DGCAD via the Art and Design first year course. So they'll complete that first year and then they'll move on to one of the 7 specialisms listed below. So they would do 3 years in their specialism. So you can see animation, illustration, graphic design, textiles, jewellery and metal design, fine art, or art and philosophy. So just to give you a bit of an insight into where we are in relation to our position in Dundee. So you can see that we're quite near to the River Tay there. So this image was taken from the top corridor in the fine art area within DGCAD. So it gives a viewpoint of, if not all of the college, but certainly the Crawford building part. And the reason that I'm showing you that is to show where the General Foundation studios are in relation to the rest of the college. So this is our area just here. So we have a suite of 6 studios. So we occupy quite an extensive footprint within the college itself. So our students are many and varied. In an average year, we have between 170 and 180 individual students on the course. So they come from right across the UK, from Europe and from further afield as well. In the year group that's just finished, the age range is between, I think it was 17 and 59. So a diverse range, and some will be school leavers, some will come from further education colleges, others are adult returners, perhaps returning after a career in, you know, in something completely different. So we're definitely create quite a vibrant sort of student community. So maybe I could bring Jennifer Thompson in here, who's one of our recently completed students, just to say a kind of word or two about you know, how she found that kind of community of fledgling artists and designers and working alongside each other.
Hi, hi everyone. Yeah, I really enjoyed first year, and sort of that was one of the main aspects that I loved about it. It was like so easy to make friends and speak to other people and like get new ideas and things like that. Everyone's so friendly and nothing's like too much to ask of anyone and things like that.
Okay, brilliant. Thank you. Okay, so studio learning environment. I mentioned that we've got 6 spaces that are just for us within the college, and this is kind of, you know, where it all happens, where the creative learning happens. Students are able to be quite experimental. They'll have their own workspaces. You know, as Jennifer said, it is about often learning from each other as well as from the staff as well. So they're busy, active spaces, and, you know, a place where all of the students can feel at home. So at the end of each of the sort of project blocks, what we like to do is kind of tidy up the spaces, clear the decks a bit, and, you know, allow the students to display the work that they've produced from a given project as well. And again, Jennifer, I think you would say that that was, you know, quite a key aspect for you as an individual.
Yeah, definitely. Sort of, it's so interesting to see how other people approach briefs, and a lot of the time the briefs change, so you know what's coming next, sort of thing. So it's really good to see like other people's approaches and how they work things out.
Yeah, absolutely, because I think the briefs that we do offer are very open in nature. So we're not looking for everyone to produce the same work. In fact, you know, we're looking for that variety and diversity. You know, it's definitely not prescriptive. The briefs will have kind of aims and, you know, in broad terms, things that we look for. But within that, you know, we really are keen to allow the students to experiment and to try new things as well. Okay, so a very brief word on this. At the moment, as you know, ourselves, like all the other institutions in the UK, are having to adapt to the new challenges posed by COVID. So at the moment, we're still allowing the students into the studios, but this is with social distancing in place. So there'll be fewer students in on any particular day. So they still will have that face-to-face aspect to them, to their course, but we will also be adapting to delivering some content online as well, and encouraging students to keep up with sort of independent learning on the days where they're not around. So mainly our priority at the moment is to keep everyone safe, but continue to deliver a kind of strong and interesting course of studies. So just very briefly to give a kind of overview of the structure of the course. Semester 1 is about integrated studies in art and design. So basically everyone will do the same projects and the same modules. And then in the second semester, that's where students begin to focus a little bit more on the potential specialisms for second year. So that's the point where they're beginning to sort of help, or the course is helping them to determine what's right for them as we move through. So the first part general, the second part slightly more specific. So in semester 1, again, I'm just go very quickly through this. We'll have 3 modules and they look at fundamental aspects of art and design. So drawing initially, then making, working in 3D, and finally colour. And again, you can see from the range of outcomes to a particular project brief that there is a range of different opportunities for students within each of those. We do offer a good level of support to the students as well, and each person has an individual named staff advisor that they meet on a regular basis to just check in on how they're doing academically, and also to offer a degree of pastoral support as well, should it be required. So a big part of the first year course is about making that jump. So it's moving from where you've been, perhaps a school environment, and moving on into a higher education environment. So we're really kind of all about, you know, encouraging individuals to kind of learn independence. So, you know, that's something that takes a little time just for people to kind of, you know, develop from where they've been, and, you know, to push themselves creatively, and, you know, to try new things essentially. So to illustrate this is work produced by one single individual student towards the end of the first semester, and all of this, it was like a huge sort of creative burst here, was produced within a very short period of time. We're talking about 2 weeks. So when you consider that that individual was, you know, a school leaver, conforming to perhaps the curriculum, you know, we can give the space and the opportunity to really kind of push themselves from where they've been. The other thing that develops during the course as well is students begin to determine their individual route. So the briefs are open, but within those, students will tend to gravitate towards you know, their own way of working. So, for example, it might be someone who finds that they've got a fascination for colour and pattern and repetition and print, which would highlight perhaps opportunities to progress towards textile design, for example. This slide also is showing all the sketchbooks of the students. I'll talk a wee bit more about sketchbooks when it comes to the portfolio in a moment, but this is something that we really encourage the students to do, in that they're keeping their own creative log of the work that they're making and developing, the things that they're interested in, the things that they research and look at as well. So semester 2 is where students are able to kind of trial test and confirm what their eventual progression route to second year is going to be, and they can opt to try out a variety of different blocks at this point. So I think for some students, like Jennifer, for instance, she was kind of quite clear about what it was she might want to go into in second year, but use this period of time just to kind of fully confirm that decision. Would you like to say anything about that, Jennifer, at all?
Yeah, of course. So I was quite set on graphics sort of since I started. So my second block, I did sort of graphics, textiles, graphics. And although like I still went for the graphics, it was really nice to do something different and gave me skills sort of to take to graphics sort of thing. So it's nice to change up.
Yeah, absolutely. So some students will have a particular subject specialism in mind when they join the course, but others, and I'm sure, Jennifer, you could give an example of a friend that had, you know, a complete turnaround in terms of what they thought they were going to do and what they ended up pursuing eventually.
Yeah, of course. I know a girl who came in was so set on fine art, so set on painting, all that good stuff. I think she's done illustration in one of her blocks, loved it, and now that's going to be her degree. So it can go either way.
Yeah, absolutely. So it can be about confirming, or it can be about, you know, kind of having a real kind of change of heart as well. So, well, talking about graphics here, when it comes to these blocks, students are given, you know, opportunities to work on projects that are a little more kind of aligned to what their eventual progression route might be. So perhaps, Jennifer, you could give an example of one of the graphics projects that you undertook in semester 2.
Yeah, of course. So one of the projects that probably my favourite project from the whole year, we had to make a guidebook on something in Dundee. So to do something like interesting, a bit different. So I think I done mine on laundrettes, other people done them on like places to see the sunset, and it was so interesting. It was really nice to see like different people's, how they view Dundee.
Yeah,
that one.
Yeah, absolutely. And again, you know, the sort of diverse range of topics that people chose to explore was what made it kind of really exciting. So, you know, so there was sometimes quite a nice kind of humour in some of the work that students produced there as well. So this is another example of one of the projects the communication design students have done previously, and this was one called Screenshots, where students were given some sound clips. So they were starting with a kind of oral stimulus, and then they had to develop either something quite illustrative or something more graphics orientated as a little kind of movable sequence of images. So that was an example of that one. Animation, of course, is a hugely popular subject amongst students. And during semester 2, the animation students, the real focus is on drawing actually, and drawing practice. But they also have the opportunity to begin to test, you know, making those drawings move, and they are supported by staff who have a professional animation background. So they're just sort of taking those first kind of steps towards becoming the kind of competent animators that they'll be in the future. Another option is for textiles or jewellery and metal design. So the students undertaking this and eventually progressing to these areas are the makers, so they're interested in materials and surface. So you can see some examples here for three-dimensional work from first year students interested in jewellery. They also have the chance to have a bit of a play in the jewellery workshop as well. And many of them kind of fall in love with that workshop and working with those materials at that point in their course. And similarly, the textile students again enjoy tactile, enjoy surface, pattern. Some have an interest in making, you know, outcomes that are to be worn. We've got contemporary art practice that has fine art and art and philosophy within these areas. So this is quite a broad church in that students can, I suppose, the boundaries are blurred between different ways that students can express themselves. So it might be that for some students that is going for a more kind of traditional route, perhaps in painting. For others, they'll take a more experimental route and perhaps be interested in video or installation work or sculpture. Okay, I'm looking at my timer here, so I think I'll have to move on quickly to the entrance portfolio. So this is the final part of the talk here. So I'm going to show you some examples from portfolios and just outline briefly what it is we're looking for in the portfolio. So I think the first thing to say is there's definitely kind of no magic formula for producing the perfect portfolio. What we're looking essentially for is potential. So we want to see that you're hardworking, that you're trying things, you're exploring things, you're signaling to us that you're kind of ready to begin a focused focused and full-time course of study in art and design. What I've highlighted at the end of this slide here are qualifications are an important component of your application. And what we found that occasionally students are not listing all their qualifications when they apply, which can disadvantage them. So I think it's really important that you make sure that you're including all your qualifications that you've achieved. And I guess the kind of general rule of thumb is you have a much better chance of being accepted to the course if your group of qualifications are in place when you apply to us. Some, of course, might be pending results, but having the potential to be fully qualified will stand you in good stead. So applicants from Scotland, we are asking you to submit a digital portfolio, and essentially a digital portfolio is a digital version of your portfolio. So that's all your artwork recorded photographically and placed into a digital format. So that would happen in round 1. So you would be given a date, it'll be in January, when you have to submit your digital portfolio. For some of you, we might require to see a little bit more additional work. We had hoped to offer a physical portfolio hand-in. However, I can confirm that this will not be happening. So if you're not offered a place in round 1, and we will be making some offers on the initial portfolio submission. If you're asked to submit a little bit more, that again will be a further digital submission. So applicants from the rest of the UK, Europe, overseas, you would submit that digital portfolio, and occasionally there may be a kind of follow-up interview or call, but that's quite rare, really. This is really useful to have a look at, and you can find this on the website. So when you're ready to submit your portfolio, you can watch these 2 short videos that kind of guide you through that process. So one of the things that we're really keen to look at in your portfolio is how you develop ideas, and in particular how you develop your sketchbook. So these are great to see. Obviously, when it comes to the digital submission, it's a good idea to perhaps show multiple pages on the same slide, so we can kind of see the flow of your ideas developing from, you know, one page to the next. So examples of sketchbooks here. And you can see that individual sketchbooks kind of show an individual voice, if you like. So whether someone's more design orientated, whether someone's more interested in drawing or photography, that can come through in their book. Another thing that we like to see in the portfolio is how you kind of go about gathering that information to develop your artwork from. So you could call that research, kind of active research. So it's maybe studies you make, such as these in this applicant's portfolio, you know, doing some paintings, gathering materials, looking at artists and designers' work, using photography, just all those things that that you can work with to kind of gain that kind of fuller picture of the things that you're interested in. Likewise with creative development, this is where, you know, you can show your sort of experimental process. So that might be within sketchbooks, or it might be within actual kind of pieces as well. So perhaps, you know, as in here, someone who's interested in kind of surface and stitch, collage, trying things out, you know, it's kind of explorative, it's not polished and finished. And I think within your book and within your artwork, you know, it can be kind of, you know, it can be rough actually, it can be trying things out and exploring ideas. You know, in a similar kind of way, if you're planning out a composition for a painting, you know, we really like to see the, you know, the studies that you've made, the decisions that you've made along the way in kind of planning that artwork. It's definitely not all about the highly polished, finished piece. We're really interested in kind of this stage of the process as well. We do look at skills, and they'll include kind of drawing skills too. So the drawing here on the left is obviously, you know, highly proficient and academic kind of drawing, but there are other ways of drawing as well, and we're totally open to that too. What is useful in a digital portfolio is to include information about the scale of the work that you've produced. So you can see in these two examples here, the one on the left is saying this is from direct observation, and we do like to see that. We do like to see you drawing from source, something that's sitting in front of you and you're recording that information rather than always drawing from photographs. The scale of the piece is really key as well. So we know whether we're looking at something that's, you know, poster size or kind of postage stamp size. So that's valuable information too. Media, we're not looking for you to be an expert at absolutely everything, but it is quite nice to see a diverse range of use of media within your portfolio. For some students, there may be a particular signal within their portfolio about the you know, the potential direction that they might take. So if you have a passion, for example, here for print, surface and textile design, it's absolutely fine to show that in your folio. Similarly, you know, you might be interested in graphic design. And again, on this slide, you can see that kind of process of development is just as valid in terms of the kind of more design orientated applicant as well. But like I say, your portfolio can be highly general, or it might be signaling, you know, particular interests that you might have. Photography as well, you can include photography in your portfolio. That might be in terms of, you know, actual artwork that's photographic. It might be for documenting a site-specific work, like the piece on the right, or it might simply be a way of kind of recording interesting things that you're seeing in the environment. Oh, sorry, glass of water. Yeah, and I think the other thing with photography is, you know, we don't need to see hundreds and hundreds of the same thing. So be kind of selective if you're including photography too. Quality of presentation, I think as far as possible, because it is digital, you know, try and photograph your work as well as you possibly can. In particular, something like three-dimensional work, it's really good to have good quality photographs of that piece. So it'll give us a really kind of clear understanding of what that is, so whether it's a wearable or whether it's a piece of sculpture. Okay, and that's me there. So I think what we'd like to do now, time permitting, is maybe just see if there's any questions that anybody would like to ask us at all.
We do actually have a few questions I can ask.
Okay, lovely.
Someone is asking if they are applying to. Oh wait, sorry, the question skipped. If you have an okay personal statement, can you be rejected based on that alone, or will you consider the portfolio?
Could you say that again? I missed the first part of that.
If you have an okay personal statement, can you be rejected based on that alone, or will your portfolio be considered?
Oh, the main thing that we look for is actually portfolio, statement and referee statement. Yes, we take those into account. But what we would do is give your portfolio a score, and we would look at that alongside what your qualifications are. So no one would be rejected on, you know, a personal statement. Absolutely not.
Next question, can you include random pieces that don't have development or sketchbook planning within your portfolio?
Yes, the answer to that is yes, yeah.
When do you decide what route you want to take during the general foundation course?
Well, that happens, it's kind of more than halfway through your second semester. So when students come back after the Christmas holidays, that's when they'll undertake these option blocks where they can sample a few different specialisms. And at the end of that option block period, we would then ask the student to confirm their choice. And the final part of the course is students producing their final longer project that runs over 4 weeks within their specialist subject. So I think it's around week 7 of the second semester that we ask students to confirm their choices. So sometimes someone coming into the course, as Jennifer was saying, I'll be thinking one thing, they'll do a few of those option blocks, and then they'll discover actually it's something else. So the course is really flexible in that way, and even during the final 4-week project, it doesn't happen very often, but occasionally a student might say, I'm not sure, maybe I want to change to something else, and it's all negotiable, it's all fine, we can accommodate that.
We also have someone who is applying through Scotland. Will it be likely for you to ask them for a second digital submission, and what would this round 2 entail?
Well, it would depend really. If you're applying from Scotland, initially what we would do is ask you for your portfolio. So all applicants would be given that opportunity. So we would write to you and we would request that portfolio by a certain date. So we would look at that first round of portfolios first, and we would make offers to a number of applicants at that point. It might be that there's still some applicants that we maybe feel that we want to give them the opportunity to show us a little bit more. And if that's the case, we would get in contact with those individuals and ask them to then submit a second digital portfolio. Now that might be work that's maybe made in addition to what they submitted originally. So, you know, if you're working away on something and you think, oh, it would have been really nice to show that in my portfolio, you might get the opportunity to do that. Now, it won't be everybody that will get that opportunity, because some places will have been offered in the first round.
Also, is there an option to study a semester abroad or an exchange programme?
Not in first year general course, but that will be something that's offered in subsequent years of study. It's often level 3 that students can do that, but in first year, no.
And finally, do you have any information about possible schedules or timetables?
In terms of portfolio submission?
Portfolio submission and the general course.
Right, okay. Off the top of my head, I don't know the dates of submission for the portfolio. I believe that's still to be confirmed with admissions. I think for this year's entrance, the date was towards the end of January. But that will be confirmed to you. And I think probably the best thing to do is to tune in again at the DJ CAD open days in October, and we'll be able to give you more detailed information about days and dates at that point.
I think that's all the questions we've had through, unless I'm missing anything.
Okay, that's great. Thanks very much. Okay, I think that's...
I think, Helen, possibly the only question that hasn't been answered was one maybe about using higher artwork and advanced higher artwork, if that would be okay to put that in a portfolio.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely fine. I think most applicants probably have a kind of mixture of work that they've done through their school curriculum, but we kind of quite like to see the work that you do independent of school as well, you know, things that you do in your own time.
We also have a new question in that says, do we get one-on-one tutors in general year, or is it classes? And do we get to choose specific classes?
Right, well, the answer to that is yes, you do get one-to-one tuition. It's a kind of mixture of different things. So everyone will have one-to-one tuition. Sometimes we'll do things in small groups, so you'll be taught in a small group. We're keen on peer-to-peer learning as well. So yeah, it kind of varies of the way that we deliver the course, but yes, absolutely, you would get some one-to-one attention with a member of staff. And the second part of the question was about do you get to choose? Was that you get to choose aspects?
Yes, it was. Do we get to choose specific classes?
In semester 2, you do, yes, and we develop the classes based on the subject specialisms that students are interested in. So, for example, if you elected to do a block in graphic design, you would be placed in that particular group. If you wanted to do a block in fine art, you would be placed in another group. So yes, the second part of the course allows you to kind of design your own course of study, dependent on where your kind of level of interest, you know, where that lies.
I believe that's all the questions now.
Okay, lovely. Thank you very much. Cheers.